promo read coming up in 85 minutes. It's First Things First on today's show. Byron Leftwich says people are throwing dirt on the Bucs. Why Nick still thinks the Bucs are super dangerous in the playoffs. Meanwhile, one NFL legend compared Brock Purdy to Patrick Mahomes. Why Nick Wright hates this, and spoiler alert, it was Steve Young. And finally, which panelist who is covered in fur and lives in a log has the Packers on upset alert? Stay tuned. In for Chris Broussard, it's Super Bowl winning coach Eric Mangini. I'm Kevin Wildes. Nick Wright, are you participating in upset alert? Or are you bailing out after such a rough week?
You literally went to our bosses and demanded I be banned from upset alert. Literally happened Tuesday at 6 p.m. So I guess America will find out who's got the yeah, exactly right.
But we start with some emotional news and some logistical news. We're going to start with the emotion. Bill's Twitter feed reporting that Damar Hamlin FaceTimed into the team meeting today to talk to players and coaches, told them that he loved him. Deion Dawkins later said to see him smile and flex his biceps in the camera, it was everything. So great news coming out of Cincinnati and Buffalo. Nick, your reaction?
It is unbelievable.
It's great.
I mean, this was the scariest thing the vast majority or all of us have ever seen on an NFL field. And that was Monday. And it's Friday. And so they took him off the ventilator, which is why he could talk. We heard yesterday about how he wrote, did we win the game? And I think we were all, a lot of us didn't know exactly how to talk about this because we knew that on the field he had gotten CPR and he had made it to the hospital, but we didn't know what the next days and weeks and months were going to look like for him. And, Coach, I don't think it's too early to say. It looks like we are trending towards the best case scenario. And the one thing that stuck with me was when we were talking about it on Tuesday, and we talked about the CPR on the field and the defibrillation and the people who saved his life, those medical professionals, and even the team equipment manager that quickly got his face mask off. They all helped save his life. And I know a lot of people have said this recently on television. I'll add myself to that chorus. Those of us that don't know CPR, it was a good reminder of, hey, you can take a class and learn it. So if you're ever in a situation, but I just think it's so wonderful that this is where we're at right now.
Yeah, it was incredible. That feeling of sadness that we all had as we watched from the field, and then realizing how serious it was as they were administering CPR and being so thankful that those people were in place to do that, and then checking it seemed like every 4 or 5 minutes I would check to see if there was any updates, and to hear he was responding, then to hear that he had been able to reach out to his family and hold their hand and then write something, and now for him to be able to communicate to the team, it's amazing. It's bigger than any sports story that we could ever cover, and really happy for him and his family, and excited to see him recover and get back to
life,
full speed, and
well said, everyone. Our thoughts are still with Damar as this road to recovery continues. We're going to switch gears to the logistical news now. NFL owners this afternoon approved changes to the playoff schedule since Bills-Bengals game will not be rescheduled. Biggest news, AFC Championship game will be at a neutral site if the top teams have played unequal games. So that means, depending on this week's outcome, we could see Bills-Chiefs neutral site or Bengals-Chiefs in a neutral site.
Yeah, and listen, there was no perfect solution here. Mm-hmm. With all of the possible floated options, there was going to be a yeah, but attached to it. Because this was not only an unprecedented situation, but there was no easy fix to the logistical side of it, which is what we're talking about here. I've got to give the NFL credit. I personally believe they picked the best possible and fairest possible option. And I understand, if you're a Bills fan and you're like, man, we were going to win that game and we're going to beat the Patriots, we were going to host this. Oh, I get it. And if you're a Chiefs fan and you're like, oh, the Bengals were winning and we were going to, or by the way, if you're a Bengals fan, you're like, hold on, we got to do a coin flip to have any home playoff. I understand that there are some imperfections there, but there was I've seen people talk about this for 3 days. I'm yet to see someone present, here's the one that is perfect for all parties. So I think they did as good of a job as they possibly could have. I'm going to add one suggestion to the league. It seems like they are trending towards whatever the neutral site is. Indianapolis, I've heard. Atlanta, I've heard. Those are domed stadiums. Cincinnati, Buffalo, and Kansas City are all outdoor teams, and they're all cold weather teams, but outdoor teams. I would suggest this game be played outdoors at a neutral site, and Sam Monson had the idea of Pro Football Focus that if it is two of these three teams, and it has to be at a neutral site, whichever team is not in the game, that's the stadium it's at. So if it's Kansas City, Buffalo, the game's in Cincinnati. If it's Cincinnati, Buffalo, this wouldn't come into play. But if it's Cincinnati, Kansas City, the game's in Buffalo. And those, and you can disperse the tickets how it is. But that's the only. But even if it is in a dome, I think that's fine. I think it's the best they could have done.
Yeah, whenever you're in a situation like this where there's nothing to draw on and you've got to try to figure out what the best answer is, there's always going to be those people that are a little frustrated with how the outcome is established. But I agree, this is the best possible situation and best possible solution that they could come up with. I had heard the idea of them playing outdoors, and I agree, 3 outdoor teams, it should be outdoors. I hadn't heard the idea of it being at the team who's not in the game stadium. I think that's a great idea as well. And you go through this process, a lot of people have weighed in on it, and this is the best I think we can do considering.
Okay. Let's move on to this weekend's games. Buccaneers in Atlanta, Sunday, 1 o'clock on Fox. Byron Leftwich said the Bucs still a potent team.
Yeah.
Take a listen.
I think it's been moments where we haven't really been that bad. I think you guys over-exaggerate because we look different. The numbers say we're not that far off. We're awful on third down and red zone. It's disappointing, those two things, for us as a team with who we have. But when you really listen to people talk about us, that's emotions talking. That's not really people that's watching us get better every week. For some reason, everybody want to throw dirt on the Bucs, but we're not ready for people to throw dirt on us.
Wilds. Byron Leftwich just told you to get out your feelings. Stop talking with your emotions. Watch Grind the All-22
I've been grinding
with Josh Moore and give some real Bucs analysis. That's what Byron Leftwich said to you, Wilds. I just want you to...
Josh, clear your schedule. It looks like we have to grind more 22, all 22 Tampa Bay. Coach, your reaction.
Well, everybody accuses me of being an emotional analyst, and it's always, there's no thinking involved in it, and I've obviously overreacted.
Yeah.
But I don't see it. I don't think this is a function of throwing dirt on anything, and the numbers are getting better. Can we bring up the numbers? Because maybe he's seeing some numbers that I'm not seeing here. Well, when you look at it, the rush yards are 32nd. They have the second most drops in the NFL. They're 24th in points, 22nd in third down, 25th in red area.
Not great.
We're not throwing. This isn't throwing dirt. This is the hole that they've dug. And I've watched a bunch of their games because I watch a lot of Carolina games with Zach and the Carrio, and it's like, it's not getting better. I'm looking for it to get better, and it hasn't been getting better.
Yeah. But luckily for them, while everyone's throwing dirt on the team, Tom Brady's about to throw pixie dust on the field. Yo, hold on. Here's the deal. You say this is the worst take. Can I ask you a question, Wilds?
Of course, I'm here.
If someone said something to you that seemed far-fetched, and then they gave you 7 contemporaneous examples of the exact thing happening, would you say, okay, maybe it's not quite as far-fetched as I thought? Like, just forget everything that happened in New England. I'm not going to bring up Tuck Rule. I'm not going to bring up D Ford offsides.
I'm not going to bring it up, but
I'm not going to bring up any of those. Let's just go since Tom Brady has been in Tampa. First playoff game ever, who do you have to play? The worst team to ever make the playoffs. That seems a little fortunate. Second playoff game ever with Tampa. In the previous 5 years of NFL playoffs, there had been 1 4-turnover game until, of course, Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints melted down in front of us. And they turned the ball over 3 times in 15 plays. The very next game, the Packers kick that field goal because they believe they can get the stop, and they get the stop. And it's 4th down, and the Bucs are walking off the field. And then Tom Brady presses that little button he has on his side pocket, and all of a sudden the flag's on the field. And then in the Super Bowl, they play a team that has 5 injured offensive linemen. Then what happened last year? I'm just curious what happened last year.
The fact that they can't run the ball. It's like if you were trying to sell your house. And you're like, what about these new cabinets? I'm like, well, here's the problem. You're next to a nuclear waste site. It doesn't matter. All the other stuff doesn't matter. Like, well, I just painted the living room. Like, that doesn't matter. It's a fundamental flaw in the equation. And, Coach, you tell me if I'm wrong, because I might be, but I doubt it, to be honest with you, America. They're rushing. They rush for 76 yards per game last in the NFL. I assume that their third down issues, where they're at 37%, 27, is the fact that they're in third and long a lot because they are having so many problems rushing the ball. True or false?
Well, that plays into it. That's part of it. And then when you can't run the ball,